In a remote wilderness of southern Africa, where the grass grows taller than a man's head and the sunsets stretch like fire across the plains, nature still breathes the same primal rhythm it has for thousands of years. Here, lions are not just apex predators. They are sacred symbols of freedom and strength. At the heart of this land lies the Makulu Reserve, a place where lions are born, raised, and forced to fight for survival beneath the scorching sun and through bitterly cold nights. Malik, a local man of color, has spent his entire life on this land. He's not just a ranger. He's the keeper of the wild's heartbeat, a man who understands every footprint left by the animals as if they were whispers meant for him alone. Malik doesn't speak much. He watches, quietly, patiently. For over 20 years, he has never strayed far from Makulu. To him, every roar in the night, every trail of dried blood in the grass, tells its own story. People often ask why he doesn't leave. Why not choose a quieter, safer life? Malik always gives the same quiet answer, one that silences every further question. I don't protect this land because it's my job. I protect it because I'm a part of it. In recent weeks, Malik began to sense something was wrong. Several herds of antelope had suddenly disappeared from their usual migration routes. Alarm calls rang out only sporadically now, no longer in the frantic chorus of before. On a familiar patrol path, Malik discovered the carcass of a female antelope, a deep, clean, cold cut. Not the bite of a predator, but the machete of a human. He frowned. The poachers had returned. One afternoon, wind blew down from the mountains, carrying the faint scent of fresh meat. Malik stopped his vehicle, stepped out, and began to follow the trail. There were human footprints on the ground, large, heavy, heading deep into the restricted zone. Nearby lay a few old, rusted shell casings, likely used as bait the night before. Malik needed no further proof. He knew. Tonight, they would return. Night falls quickly in the savannah. A thin crescent moon hung like a blade in the dark violet sky. Malik drove alone, headlights off, weaving through thorny brush toward the area he suspected was the target. He stopped, killed the engine, and sat silently in the dark, hearing nothing but his heartbeat and the soft rustling of insects. Then a gunshot rang out. Just one. It wasn't loud, muffled by a silencer, but to Malik, the sound cut through the night like a blade. He didn't need to think. He leapt out of the vehicle and ran as fast as he could toward the direction of the shot. Across the open field, the faint glow of a distant flashlight revealed a group of figures, 3 men, crouched in the brush. They were watching a lioness lying quietly nearby, gently grooming 2 tiny cubs nestled against her belly. She looked exhausted, likely having just given birth. Malik didn't hesitate. He grabbed a stone and hurled it toward the poachers to draw attention. Then he shouted, loud and deep, to startle the lions into retreat. The men panicked. One of them raised his weapon and fired toward the sound. The bullet hit Malik in the left shoulder. The shock made him stumble. Blood soaked through the faded green fabric of his ranger uniform, but he didn't fall just yet. He turned and crawled out of the brush, dragging himself toward the moonlight, toward the open field where he knew the pride often gathered. Then his foot caught on a tree root. He collapsed, right in the middle of where the lions were hiding. Malik gasped for breath. His vision blurred. But just before losing consciousness, he felt it. The eyes of the lioness fixed on him in the dark. Not the eyes of a predator preparing to strike, but the eyes of a mother, fiercely alert. Malik lay motionless, his entire body racked with pain. With every heartbeat, more blood seeped from the wound in his shoulder, warm and sticky. The earth beneath him was cold, but his blood had soaked into the grass, making it damp and strangely warm. Above him, the sky was pitch black, like velvet, with only a trembling crescent moon slipping through the clouds, casting a faint silver light over a large figure moving steadily toward him. At first, Malik thought he was hallucinating, but then came the sound of breathing, deep, low, and heavy, growing closer with each passing second. He turned his head. The lioness. She was approaching, not running, not leaping, but stepping forward slowly, carefully, as if measuring the distance between them 1 meter at a time. She stopped just a few steps away from him. Her eyes didn't blink, her head lowered, sniffing the blood soaking into the grass. No roar, no sudden movement. For a few seconds, everything felt frozen. The wind stopped blowing. Even the insects fell silent. There was only Malik and her. She stared at him for a long time. Those eyes, glowing faintly under the moonlight, no longer looked like a hunter's. They held something else. Recognition. Malik held his breath. He thought back to the times he had encountered lions before. In the morning mist under the blazing midday sun, at sunset. But never this close. He knew that a single swipe, a quick instinctive pounce, and it would all be over. But she didn't do that. Instead, she lay down, right beside him, one front paw stretched forward, her head resting gently on her belly, ears perked and alert. Her nose hovered just above the ground, right where Malik's blood still seeped into the earth. The distance between them now was no more than a single breath. Malik could feel the warm air from the lioness's mouth brushing against his wrist. He closed his eyes, not out of fear, but because he couldn't understand why he was still alive. Then he heard a growl. Not loud, not angry, but soft and steady, like an ancient melody being hummed into the night. It was the lioness, letting out a quiet, low rumble toward the sky, as if she were speaking to someone or holding someone back. Maybe it was the other lions in her pride, or maybe it was her own fear. A few minutes later, Malik opened his eyes. He and the lioness were still lying side by side. Neither of them moved. In fact, their breathing had almost synced. He didn't understand why she hadn't killed him, but he knew, in that moment, something had shifted. No longer man, no longer beast. Just two living beings, both tired, both hurting, and both surviving for one reason only. Trust. I didn't see a predator ready to strike. I saw a mother protecting another who was also fighting between life and death. Above them, the sky kept turning. The moon continued to shine down on blood-stained earth. And that night, the savannah was silent. Malik lived, and the lioness stayed by his side until someone came to find them. An hour after the gunshot, the ranger team on duty at the East Outpost received a signal from the tracker installed on Malik's vehicle, but there was no response from him. They called over the radio again and again. Only static answered. Without hesitation, 2 pickup trucks sped off into the night. Tires tore through the dry grass, headlights casting scattered beams across the open terrain. Near the last known location, one of the younger rangers, a man named Themba, spotted a figure lying motionless on the ground, and not far from him, a large, sand-colored mass. A lion. He slammed on the brakes. "Oh my God, that's Malik," someone shouted instinctively. They started to rush forward, but the lioness lifted her head. She didn't roar, she just looked. But that look, deep, calm, yet full of warning, froze every person in their tracks. She was lying right beside Malik, like a soldier standing guard over a fallen comrade. No one dared to draw a weapon. No one said a word. Only Themba, his hands trembling, pulled out his phone and began recording the scene in front of him. He didn't know why he did it. Maybe to capture evidence, or maybe to show the world that some things can't be explained in human language. About 7 minutes passed. No one moved. The lioness rose to her feet, slowly, and began to walk away. She didn't run. She didn't look back. She quietly left Malik's side, as if she had done what she came to do. She vanished into the night, as if she had never been there at all. As soon as she disappeared, the rangers rushed to Malik's side. "He's still breathing!" Blood had soaked through his shirt. His face was pale, lips dry, but his heartbeat was still there. Using their first aid training, they bandaged the wound and immediately sent out a distress signal via satellite. Just 12 minutes later, a rescue helicopter descended, its rotors kicking up clouds of dust into the dark savanna sky. When they lifted him onto the stretcher, Malik still hadn't opened his eyes. But in his hand, he was holding something tightly. Themba gently opened his fingers. It was a blood-stained blade of grass and a single lion's whisker. He never let go of it for the entire flight. The next day, the video Themba had recorded was uploaded to the internal network of the Conservation Force. Within less than 12 hours, it was shared by hundreds of accounts, then thousands, then millions. One person commented, "I used to think lions only knew how to kill, but after this video, I believe they know how to protect, just like we do." Malik stayed in the hospital for nearly 3 weeks, surrounded by IV lines, antibiotics, and the steady beeping of a heart monitor. But what worried the doctors most wasn't the wound. It was the emptiness in his eyes, as if a part of him was still somewhere else, where blood had soaked into the earth, where death had come close and been turned away by something unexplainable. He didn't speak about that night. He didn't need to. They had seen the video. The world had seen it. On the day Malik was discharged, it rained. A rare gift in the savannah. He stood on the steps of the rescue center, tilting his face upward to feel each drop fall. This rain isn't for me. It's for the earth. For her. He still referred to the lioness as her, not it, not the animal, not even the lion. To Malik, she was a soul, no different from a human being. When his body was strong enough, Malik returned to Makulu. This time, he wasn't wearing the ranger uniform, just a faded cotton shirt and a pair of worn-out shoes. He didn't carry a gun. No binoculars, no notebook. He only brought a small dry branch, once used to mark the sand while tracking animals. Beneath the shade of an old baobab tree, he stopped and placed his hand on the trunk, etched with countless marks left by those who came before. It was here that I fell. I thought I was lost, but it turns out I was welcomed. Asterisk, he didn't know if the lioness still remembered him. Did she understand? Did she need to? But still he walked on. When he reached the rise overlooking the plains, Malik stopped. And there, as if in answer, she appeared. The lioness. She stood at the far edge of the grassland, her cubs playing in the sunlight behind her. One of them paused, ran to her, and clung to her front leg. She lowered her head gently, licking the top of its head, a slow, tender motion. She looked up and saw Malik. No movement, no reaction, no retreat, just looking, long, deep. Malik stepped forward, slowly, each step careful, as if afraid to shatter a moment as fragile as mist. When only a breath's distance remained between them, enough for each to feel the other's presence, Malik stopped. They stood there, a man, a lioness. No words were spoken, none were needed. The wind blew, the grass swayed. A single strand of her fur drifted from her shoulder, danced lightly through the air, and landed in Malik's hand. He closed his fingers around it as if holding a vow no one else could hear. "You didn't just save me," Malik whispered, his eyes shimmering with tears. "You taught me that life can emerge from the places we fear most." Asterisk. I once thought I was the protector of animals, but that day, it was a lion who stood guard over me. Asterisk. They had named her Saara, from the Tsonga word for the guardian. That name was written into wildlife tracking logs, conservation reports, and into the memories of millions who watched the video. But to Malik, she needed no name. She was a friend, a sacred being beyond touch, a story too vast for words to hold. On his way back, Malik turned for one last look. Saara was still there, still sitting, still watching. No more blood, no more pain, no more guns, threats or instinctive fear. Only two eyes, once from separate worlds, now meeting in a place where borders no longer exist. Some stories don't need an ending, because each time they are retold, something new is discovered, about compassion, survival, and a trust that transcends the boundary between humans and nature. The story of Malik and Saara is not just a chance encounter between man and beast. It is proof that between wilderness and civilization, between fear and love, there still exists a common language, written in silence, in a gaze, and in actions that require no words. To this day, Saara still lives in Makulu. Malik still works, quietly as before. But every time he passes through that tall grassland, he always turns his head, just to make sure she's still there, like an old friend who needs nothing more than a glance to understand. And if you believe that animals can sense not only danger but also kindness, share this story. Not for fame, not for views, but to remind each other that beauty still exists in this world, amid the wild, the blood, and the quiet mercy of the heart. If you feel this story deserves to be known by more people, please like, share, and subscribe. We will continue bringing you authentic stories from the natural world, where emotions are not a privilege of humans alone. Believe that kindness can be returned even by the wildest of souls. Thank you for listening. Among millions of heartbeats in the wild, just one in harmony is enough to change a life.